Have you ever had one of those moments where you wonder if the story we've all been told is, well, maybe a little bit upside down? What if the whole story of life on Earth, of where we all come from, is actually the complete reverse of what we think? Let's get into it, because today we're going to explore an idea that might just flip your perspective on everything.
Okay, so on one hand, you have the story we all know from school, Darwin's theory. Humans evolved from apes, right? We climbed up the ladder of evolution. But then there's this other idea, a discovery from the Buddha that says the complete opposite. It suggests that animals actually came from humans, that we're the starting point, and they took a different path. It's a huge contrast, and it really sets the stage for a fascinating puzzle.
And what's wild is that this isn't just some ancient philosophical idea. The story takes a really modern turn, with clues hidden right inside our own bodies, inside our DNA. It turns out that science itself has found a few things that don't quite line up with that simple climbing the ladder story. Now, we've all heard this one, right? Our DNA is super similar to a chimpanzee's, somewhere around 95 to 98%. And you think, well, that's it then, case closed. That seems like a slam dunk for the standard theory. But hold on. This is where it starts to get a little weird. We also share about 90% of our DNA with a house cat, a cat. I mean, that's pretty surprising, isn't it? Cats are on a totally different branch of that evolutionary tree we're all so familiar with. And it doesn't stop there. Get this. We're also about 90% genetically similar to a mouse. The plot thickens, right? So what's going on here? Why do we and cats and mice all share this massive chunk of our genetic blueprint? And for the grand finale, here it is. We share 60% of our DNA with a banana. Yep, a banana. This just blows the whole thing wide open. It shows that our genetic connection isn't just with our primate cousins, it's spread out across so much of life on this planet in ways that are kind of hard to explain.
And, we're not the only ones who find this surprising. When scientists first started decoding all of this, they were genuinely shocked. It just raises this enormous question. If we all came from different branches of the tree, why is our core programming so incredibly similar across the board? What if it's not about a common ancestor, but about a common origin point?
So how can we even begin to make sense of this mystery? Well, to find an answer, we might have to zoom out a little bit. An ancient wisdom tradition suggests that there's kind of like an operating system for the entire universe, made up of 5 big natural laws that quietly run everything in the background.
Let's break them down real simple. There's a law for living things, biology, genetics. There's a law for physics and weather. Think gravity, or why seasons change. There's a law for how the mind itself works. There's a law for our actions, which is all about cause and effect. And finally, there's a law that just weaves them all together.
And here's the most important part. These laws aren't separate things. They're all interconnected, like a single, beautiful, seamless system. And for our story today, the real key player is that 4th one, the law of action. You've probably heard of it by another name, karma. So let's take a closer look at this law of action. And a great way to think about karma is not as some cosmic judge, but more like a natural law that helps our consciousness choose its next uniform, the physical body it's going to wear for a while. So what is karma, really? It's just the law of cause and effect, but for our choices. Every intentional thing we think, say, or do, it shapes our consciousness. It leaves a little imprint. And over a long, long time, this doesn't just shape what happens to us, it shapes what we literally become, our very form. So here's how this idea of karmic selection is said to work. It starts with a human who has free will, and that human makes choices that aren't so great, things that cause harm. Over time, this actually degrades the quality of their consciousness. So at the end of that life, this, let's say, less refined consciousness naturally looks for a body, a new uniform that matches its current state. And that new uniform might just be in the animal world.
Now, if you just sit with that idea for a moment, even as just a possibility, wow, it completely changes how you see the world, doesn't it? And every single living creature in it. It asks us to look at an animal and see not a lesser being, but something so much more.
From this point of view, animals are fellow travelers. They're just in a different chapter of a very long journey. And that means they deserve our deepest compassion, because in a very real sense, they are us, just wearing a different uniform. And what that also means is that this human life we have right now, it is an unbelievably precious and incredibly rare opportunity.
Just how rare? Well, there's this beautiful old analogy. Imagine there's a single wooden ring, like a small life preserver, just floating somewhere out in all the vast oceans of the world.
And deep down at the bottom of the sea, there's a blind sea turtle who only comes up to the surface for a breath of air once every 100 years. The chance of being born human is said to be as rare as that one blind turtle, on that one day popping its head right up through the middle of that one single ring.
Okay, so if a human life is that precious, is there, like, an instruction manual for how to keep it? For how to stay human? Well, according to this wisdom, yeah, there is. It's a really simple code of conduct called the Five Precepts. They're basically the foundational principles that help us preserve our own humanity.
So after going through all of this, from our own DNA to the laws of the entire cosmos, the really big question, well, it comes right back to each one of us. It becomes deeply personal. Darwin looked at the evolution of our bodies. The Buddha looked at the trajectory of our consciousness. And this ancient wisdom suggests that if we take the time to cultivate and purify our own minds, we can actually see and prove this truth for ourselves. So the question isn't just about where we came from. The real question is, where are you going? Right here, right now, what trajectory are your choices setting for your own mind?